Everyone who's here tonight, thank you for attending. Really appreciate it. First order of business, acknowledge the land upon which we gather is the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq, and we pay our respects to the Indigenous Mi'kmaq people of this territory, past, present, and future. At this time, I would ask anyone who has a conflict of interest in any of the items we're going to be discussing here tonight to declare so now. If not, we'll move on to the next item, approval of the agenda. The agenda is before you. Are there any items you'd like to see added, deleted, or changed? Any changes? If not, I'll ask for a motion for approval of the agenda. Thank you. Moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Deputy Mayor Gallant. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone against? Motion carried. The minutes of our regular monthly meeting of April 8th, 2026. Those minutes are in your package, as well as the minutes of a special council meeting of April 22nd, 2026. Any additions, deletions, or changes to those minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval of those minutes. Thank you. Councillor Chandler. Second? Second, Councillor McDonald. Thank you. Business arising from the minutes. Is there anything in those minutes that we will not be covering here tonight that anyone would like to discuss at this time? If not, we'll move to presentations from the floor. Jeremy, is anyone registered for a presentation? No? Okay. Thank you. My report is in your package. I'll just go a few highlights. Just a couple of highlights. It was a busy month. We had the Provincial Immigration Partnership Council meeting with the provincial government and numerous other organizations and agencies to assist newcomers in our community and on our island to try to retain them and to make them feel more welcome and included. So that was a good meeting. We were very proud to attend a presentation ceremony for the Murray Pinchot Award to our planning group. It's a very prestigious award, and really proud of our planning group. I'd like to compliment Director Dale McKeegan and all the planning staff for all their work that led to this award. So thank you for that. Attended a very informative presentation by the RCMP, and I think there was at least two other agencies involved, or at least one other agency involved, about Even for One, which was about human trafficking. I think it was really good. Apparently that's, even here in Stratford, that is something that's an issue that is really needs a lot of awareness for people to report any suspected cases. We had a couple of meetings of Committee of the Whole and Council to look at the draft official plan and the zoning map, but continue to work on that. Had a special council meeting to award the tender for the Shepherd Drive parking lot, which will be I think it's beginning very soon. Pardon? Started today? Oh, that's good to know, yeah. Yeah, just I was really, one of the highlights of the month was assisting RCMP Constable Tim Kaiser presenting Healthy Me program graduation certificates to grade 6 students at Stratford Elementary. I think that's something that really is an investment in the future, in the sense that the police are showing students that they are their friends, and give some familiarity and gestures of friendship. So I think that's something that's really important. I really appreciate the RCMP both delivering the program and for the recognition of the students for completing it. So thank you very much to the RCMP for that. One of the other highlights was the the achievement of agreement and funding and putting in place, I believe it's going to start very soon, June 1st or around the beginning of June, the accessible taxi for people with mobility challenges. And that was announced in the PEI legislature, and it's a partnership between the province and the three municipalities of Cornwall, Charlottetown, and Stratford. So really, really pleased to be part of that and to now be able to offer that service to our residents. Yeah, I think those are the highlights. Any comments or questions on my report? If not, we'll move on to Chief Administrative Officer. Our acting Chief Administrative Officer is Jeremy Pierce.
Thank you. My report is submitted in the council package, but just to highlight a few, this past month we spent considerable time meeting with provincial and federal representatives in regards to new funding streams that are potentially available for capital projects that surround the town, namely the community campus project and some water and sewer infrastructure programs that are projects that we'd like to see completed in the next fiscal year. Along with the provincial government, they also have access to some revenue sharing programs and some capital project funding. So those discussions were timely. They're important as a community of our size that has big dreams and big ambitions for projects. It's good to continue having positive relations, intergovernmental relations with both federal and provincial governments, and we'll continue to do so. And we do think there's some positive news coming in the near future on both of those regards into capital project funding. Other than that, it's been a busy month in regards to potential projects coming online within our community from a planning perspective, and also from a community and economic development and perspective as well. We think that there's going to be new commercial entities coming to our community, which will have a positive impact for our residents. I'd just like to make mention of the Even for One human trafficking presentation that was completed here by the RCMP. It was a very powerful 2-hour presentation that they put on. It's to a certain extent, it's a little surreal or scary that human trafficking does take place. It's something that I think most people in this room would consider that would think would take place in larger centers, but to know that potentially this sort of activity has taken place on Prince Edward Island, let alone in Stratford, is certainly eye-opening and something that we continue to learn. So that's my report, if anybody has any questions.
Any comments or questions for Acting CAO Pierce? If not, thank you, Jeremy. Thanks. Okay, we'll now move on to the Safety Services section. I'll ask Councillor Ron Dowling, who chairs Safety Services Committee, to give his report.
Thank you, Your Worship. Safety Services Committee did meet on April 20th, 2026. The unapproved minutes are contained within the package. I'll entertain any questions councillors might have in relation to that. First off, I'll just make note that at the meeting, the fire chief, you'll recall instances or questions brought up by council in recent months that, or over the course of the last couple of years actually, that we were getting quite a few fire calls for lift assists with Island EMS. And that was concerning because our firefighters then had to go on call-outs in order to assist, and so we're wondering how that was going to eventually be rectified. So the chief reported that assistance required by EMS has decreased due to changes in call triage and processing. Lower acuity cases are now handled by phone follow-ups, desk-based paramedic triage or single responder units, which reduces delays and frees fire services from waiting for ambulances. These changes are viewed positively and are helping overall service efficiency within the fire services. So that's good to see. And of course, we're aware the ladder truck has arrived, and I believe it may be in service now. It was expected to be in service by the end of last month. One other item, a couple of items were brought up in relation to street lighting for McCarran Way and Helena Crescent, and I can report that the street lighting on McCarran Way has been put in place. So McCarran Way is fully ready for development. In fact, I noticed over the last couple of days that a foundation is going in on one of the lots, so that area is starting to develop, which is good to see. If there's any questions on the unapproved minutes, Your Worship, I'll address those.
Any comments or questions?
Okay, hearing none, then, Your Worship, I did highlight the streetlight reports. We'll go on to item C, RCMP report. I see Corporal Painter's chomping at the bit to get up and give that report.
Thank you. All right. So yeah, last month was a busy month, call-wise again. We recorded 393 occurrences with 370 founded or still under investigation. These stats are consistent with last month's and slightly higher than both April 2025, where we had 342 occurrences, and the 12-month average within the town at 351 occurrences. We had 262 occurrences related to traffic enforcement, which makes up about 70% of our calls. We issued 96 summary offense tickets, 156 warnings, and 6 defects throughout the month. We had 4 impaired driving occurrences, called in charging 1 driver with impaired driving over the legal limit. We had 5 summary offense tickets in regards to driving while suspended. We had 13 theft files in April. 9 of those were related to failing to pay at the gas pump, and they were all unfounded in the end. 9 motor vehicle collisions and 30 step files, select traffic enforcement program files throughout the town. So in addition to the meeting that you guys were talking about here, you also mentioned Constable Kaiser and Constable Pound completed the Healthy Me program with the grade 6 kids at Stratford Elementary School, and I heard that you were also, Mayor Agnew, you were also in attendance there as well. Yeah. So, and then we did a couple daycare visits with the police car, like a little show and tell, and let the kids climb in around the car. So that sums up our April stats.
Oh, thank you. I do just want to clarify the Even for One organization is a nonprofit, and they were the leader and partner on the presentation. Excuse me. The RCMP were part of the program, and really appreciate them being part of that as well. And as I said earlier, the Healthy Me program, that's a really great entry or avenue to get at the young people and make them understand that the police are their friends. So I really appreciated the RCMP's involvement in that and leadership of that and the way it was delivered.
Yeah, we appreciate Constable Kaiser and Constable Pound proactively volunteering to do that too. So they both did that with Charlottetown Police when they worked there. So
No,
it's nice
great
to see them continuing that program.
That's great. Yeah, thank you. Any comments or questions for Corporal Painter?
Just to add to that, the Healthy Me program, I know I have my younger years, I guess I had an opportunity to work with Constable Kaiser, and he's quite a player, and it was good to see you guys putting that program together, and it's great to get out to the communities with the community-based policing and all that, Corporal. It's nice to see that, and how the staff is, you know, we're 7 or 8 members, and each year we're going to be increasing our police department. Another thing is, I know is the visibility, the tickets, the warnings and the traffic tickets is out there. I know on Bunbury Road, they always have a parked car down on the side there. So yeah, doing some stationary radar, and it was nice to see and people slowing down. Just the visibility is just, you know, you don't have to. Could have the lights on, but not lights on, but the visibility there, you're out there looking for just prevention. You know, prevention. It's nice to see that. So yeah, just to compliment you on your leadership in that detachment, because it's getting people out there to do that. So
yeah, anyway. Certainly. Thank you. Yeah. It's, I mean, we all see the increase of traffic just in the last month here. You see it, and before long we'll see the tourists starting to roll in, and roads will be getting busier, and kids will, nicer weather, the kids will be getting out and trying to cross these busy roads. So
yeah, probably warn all our residents, probably the car shopping, probably lock your vehicles. We're coming up, you know, the warm weather.
Yes.
So it's always a good time of the year, the May and June, that for motor vehicles. So probably, I think Wendy always sends a notice out, lock our vehicles and so on, and nothing leave in the front seat, plain view and so on, because the wind would be smashed and stuff would be taken. So it'd be nice to just put some warnings out there. But other than that, great work, Corporal.
Thank you. Thank you.
One quick question. I always have one quick.
Sure, that's okay.
Are you getting much complaints about people trying to steal gas out of cars
No,
in driveways or anything?
no, not that I'm aware of.
Because today, my gas lid was open and when I get up this morning kind of thing, so now being me, I could have accidentally hit that and left it open, so I'm not blaming anybody, but I'm just saying, I was just kind of curious if that's, I know in newer cars, it's almost impossible to siphon gas because there's like a catch thing, whatever, but I guess okay, I do have an older car, but it's like, I just thought is that something, because the price of gas is so high, if there's anything ever?
No, it's a great question. We haven't had any complaints of that to date, but kind of like you said, just because we don't get the complaint doesn't mean that it didn't happen. So,
Right.
no, that's a good question.
All right, thank you.
Any other comments or questions for Corporal Painter?
Just, sorry, just to add one more thing. This week, we're at the Heat Watch program. I know I'm sort of the lead on it. As we have 6 cameras in the town of Stratford, and we're just looking up 2 or 3 more cameras up, and been talking to the Superintendent Lewis and Terry from the City of Charlottetown, the IT guy, and Maritime Electric. So I'm meeting with Jeannie and then Wendy and so on. There's 4 or 5 locations that we picked. So that's in the drum right now. So we're looking at putting up 3 in an area.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yep.
It's great news.
Any other questions for Corporal Painter? It's great. Thank you very much, Corporal.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, thank you.
Next item, Your Worship, is the Humane Society report. It's included in the package, fairly standard, 32 incidents reported by the Humane Society, 22 of which were community patrols, and that number is fairly consistent from month to month. We were to meet with the Humane Society in relation to a review of contract and just a general discussion with them on operations within the town. That had to be postponed, so it will be held, but not for several weeks yet. Any questions in relation to that report? Okay, we'll move on then to the Crossroads Fire Department Company report, and that's contained within the package. And one thing I will note is we've only had the 1 brush fire to date this year, but I guess they one in December of some sort, but we're getting into the drier season now, and grass fires and brush fires are going to become a little more commonplace over the next couple of months, so we'll just caution residents to be very careful if they're doing any type of burning, controlled burns. Any questions in relation to the fire company report? I'll just note there were 21 call-outs during the month of April, 17 of which were for Stratford, 4 for Crossroads. Okay, being no questions in that regard, Your Worship, that will conclude my report for this month.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Okay, we'll now move on to Recreation, Culture and Events. I'll ask the chair of that committee, Councillor Gordy Cox, to give his report.
All right, thank you, Mayor. The Wellness Center Architectural Design RFP, the staff continue to work with Acre Architects and MJMA on the Community Campus Wellness Center. Work is currently focusing on program optimization, step 1, to ensure long-term community needs are reflected before advancing design development. Stratford Youth Center and Council held a roadside cleanup on May 2nd and cleaned 4 kilometers of Bunbury Road. And there was 50 youth that partaked in that volunteered. So once again, it shows you the strength of our youth center here. As Stevie Glant and I talked about, there's still places, including the main highway, that have a lot of litter in the open fields, etc. So hopefully we can get that addressed soon and clean some of that up. Youth Drama Club hosted their production of A Wrinkle in Time on May 9th and 10th at the Stratford Emergency Service Center. It was excellent, and the reviews were outstanding for that. So kudos to our youth center and the drama club for that. Youth center members are now selling their kickoff to summer raffle tickets. They're $5 each, and there will be a winner of a $500 Sobeys card for that. Youth Center is hosting their annual Stratford Community Yard Sale and Flea Market May 30th, and they are right now looking for some donations for the yard sale and flea market. Youth Center Garden Club participant interest has grown, enabling us to create 2 groups. Food groups at the plots, food grown at the plots gets donated to charity, so that's a really great thing there. The Youth Center is now accepting applications for the Cheryl Duffy Service Awards. It's open to current and former Youth Center members that are attending post-secondary education in the fall or winter, and this year 4 awards are available at $500 each. So that's another great thing that's taking place right now. Arts and Culture and Public Arts, T Hill, the mural RFP was awarded to the artist duo Lala. Lala Duo will also be offering a 1-day mural training workshop to local artists free, and I think that's going to be very, very well attended, and that's a pretty big thing. The splash pad shed painting and library wall project has been deferred at this moment. We'll have some more information on that later date. Cotton Park Ferry Trail Phase 2 is currently underway with additional artwork and carvings being installed. Expanded art programs are being offered, including step-by-step paint programs, youth and adult, watercolor classes in person, urban sketching, and that will be online, youth art classes, and there are multiple age groups for this program for youth art classes. Under recreation programs and activities, there's a wide range of programs that are being offered presently for all ages and abilities here in Stratford. Programs include pickleball, which is being offered 2 days a week, active aging 55 plus fitness classes, that's being offered 3 days a week. Full body classes are being offered 3 days a week. Co-ed badminton is also being offered. There's a strong tennis program being offered in partnership with the Stratford Tennis Club, and one of the programs being offered is the adult intro to tennis. So for people that are just beginners, that's being offered. Youth sport development, intro to sport, 3 to 5 years, and also under 4 soccer is also being offered. Looking ahead for July and August, summer camp programs being offered for 10-week duration for youth 6 to 12 years old. Summer camp coordinator position is still open at this present time, and it remains open until May 15th. Wide range of youth recreational opportunities. There's minor soccer, baseball, softball, lacrosse, etc. Springfield preparation is currently taking place on all town-owned sports fields, playgrounds, and trails. We currently have some ball and soccer fields open for tryouts. T Hill cricket pitch will open Friday, May 15th. Town events, Canada Day, July 1st from 1:30 to 4 o'clock. The event will be held at T Hill Park this year due to an ongoing construction at the waterfront park with the addition of pavilion building. Canada Day festivities will move back to the waterfront park for 2027. Pride Parade will be held on July 25th, and the town will also participate with a float. And Tide and Pride, July 26th, 1 to 3 p.m. The event will be held in T Hill Park this year. And that's the recreation, art, and events report.
Thank you, Councillor. Any comments or questions on Councillor Cox's report?
Yeah, just one question. Just what fields are open currently, Councillor? Or maybe we'll get our director.
Are you asking us soccer or ball fields?
Both, I
Both?
guess, yeah.
Right now, we have for ball fields, we have Upper McNeil open, Bunbury, and Kinloch. We divided them by giving baseball Upper and Kinloch to program, and softball gets to program Bunbury. And just today, we opened our soccer fields to the soccer club.
And while you're there,
Yes.
you may as well get your money's worth. Wondering, I had taken a drive by down John Joe Stark Drive the other day. Fields look like they're coming along there. Any idea how if we'll see them open at all this season? I can never quite.
We're
Keep
still
that
waiting on,
straight.
we have to do our final walkthrough in mid-June to see if there's any deficiencies on the build of the fields and if we're ready to accept them. So once we get that completed, we can come up with a date as to when they will open.
Great, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions?
I just like to comment, I guess, I know Steve, you had in your public opening there, the pickleball facility in the community campus, it's nice to see that up and running now. I know years ago when we purchased the land, 150 acres of land, and developed everything on there now, 6 soccer fields and the 2 schools, hopefully, or 1 now and 2 schools, and the wellness centers too, and the indoor turf. So it's nice to see that up and moving, and parking lots moving, things moving inside there, and the facility itself providing amenities for residents, Stratford, young and old. So it's nice to see that start move. So it's nice to see that.
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Mayor. I was actually asked to speak at the official opening of the new Atlantic pickleball facility, and it's a really impressive facility. It's a great asset for the town, and really appreciate all the work that Councillor Cox did to help bring that facility to Stratford. Also, the Harris, what's his first name?
Scott.
Scott Harris and Noah.
There's Jonah McMillan, and there's
McMillan, yeah.
Adam
The two of
Quaid.
them, and you know them both, and were able to sell them on the town, and really appreciate all the work that you did to make sure that they looked at Stratford and ended up coming here.
I just point them in our direction, and our staff did all the hard work and sold them on what we have here, and it wasn't a hard sell because
you had a big part to play. Anyway, thank you for that. The other thing I wanted to mention was the Stratford Youth Center Drama Club, Wrinkle in Time. My wife and I went on the 10th of May and Sunday afternoon there, and it was very impressive. I was just really impressed with the work that was done there. You know, how much logistically and all the memorization and everything that took place. It was quite impressive. So kudos to the youth center, and especially to the drama club.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just another thing to mention on my travels there, the Spinco was 3 years this month in Stratford. So 2 young entrepreneurs, Taylor Smiley and Sam Smiley, moved that around, and they got 3 years into it. So it's nice to see that up and running, and staying full all the time.
Yeah.
Great,
Oh, it's great.
for our town and so on. Yeah.
Great. So, congratulations to them too.
Yes,
yeah,
it's just
yeah.
they're young.
Yep.
Yep.
Nice to see a successful business like that. Yeah.
Yep.
Great.
And just to compliment Rachel and Jeremy on the Bunbury rink there. We had a few problems down the Bunbury rink there with the flooring. They locked it down solid, and we're going to refurbish the floor there. It's a cheap, not a cheap fix. Everything's not cheap nowadays, but it was great to have the floor fixed, because a lot of youth, the rollerblade hockey and so on, it's packed down there it's well used. So it's nice to see that. We're just locking it down now and fixing the floors and moving forward that way. But it's a great job, Rachel and Jeremy, and taking that. Great work.
Thanks. Any other comments or questions on the recreation report? If not, thanks for your report, Councillor. We'll now move on to finance and technology. And pardon? Oh, I'm sorry. I missed the resolution. Yeah, we better get that. We need the grass cut. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we need it.
Okay. Town of Stratford Resolution Number RC 001-2026, dash grass cutting tender award. Whereas tenders were received for grass cutting for properties owned by the Town of Stratford Senior Properties, waterfront property and business park for a 2-year contract, with an option for a 2-year renewal. And so there was 4 main, let's see here, there was, well, I guess there's, oh my gosh. I looked at the first bunch, we had a lot of different tenders that come in. And so there, do I name all the tenders, or?
No, just the whereas.
Okay. Whereas following tenders were received, okay, and then read all those? Well, okay, great, because there's a lot there.
Yeah,
Okay, so, all right, 1 second here, okay. All right, so, all right, this down here. And whereas the Recreation, Culture, and Events Committee reviewed the tenders and recommend that the tenders submitted by 101533 PEI Incorporated, Kelly Stewart, will be accepted, as it meets the tender requirements, equipment proposed is adequate, and the overall cost is the lowest bid. Be resolved that the grass cutting tender submitted by 101533 PEI Incorporated, Kelly Stewart, in the amount of $120,232.50, GST included, for the 2-year contract of 2026-2027, with the option to renew for 2 additional years for a total amount of $249,552.30 be accepted. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Recreation, Culture, and Events Committee as discussed in the meeting held on April 23rd, 2026.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Thank you. Councillor McDonald, second. Thank you. Okay, any discussion?
Just one question, just by way of clarification, and I may have missed it here, but owned by the Town of Stratford, seniors property, waterfront property, and business park. What components of the Town of Stratford does that cover? Does that cover, like, does that do our parks and our town hall area?
That covers our parks and our town hall area, yes.
Okay, so it's essentially all of our grass cutting.
Not
Pretty
our
much.
Not the
sports
sports
fields.
fields.
Sports
No.
fields are done by internal staff.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
I just have one question. Just in terms of the option, and this may be a staff question, is it the town's option or the service provider's option to extend, or is it a mutual kind of thing?
It would be the town's option.
Thank you.
Okay, if there are no other questions or comments, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Anyone against? Motion carried. Okay, now, thank you, Councillor.
Now we should have stopped the rain.
Okay. We'll now move on to Finance and Technology. I'll ask the chair of that committee, Councillor McDonald, to give his report.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. So the Finance and Technology Committee did meet towards the end of April. As always, a very productive and useful discussion. It was mostly related to the debrief with respect to our budget process. We had a very good discussion about that. Certainly, as we're all aware, it's never a budget that we look to deliver, but it is one where really the investment, or the focus is on investment, and I think that's appropriate considering where we are as a town and where we want to go.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately, you know, we will be judged by our actions in delivering on our commitments, and so that's the standard to which the town will be held to, and I think that's a fair standard to be held to. We did talk about how the audit is scheduled to be conducted in mid-June. I believe June 16th and 17th. The auditors will be here in Stratford, and I'm sure that will go just as smooth as it always is. Staff are currently involved in year-end wrap-up, and so they're quite busy doing that. Other than that, there's no resolutions from finance. The town's finances remain in good order, and that's certainly thanks in no small part to our diligent staff who maintain our accounts and make sure that everything is going in the right direction. So unless there's any questions on that report, that would be the report from Finance and Technology for April, Your Worship.
Thank you. Just one note there. I guess we did change, the Finance Committee approved the change to the going back, rather than trying to have it as current as possible, to go back to when we had firm numbers for our expenditures and revenues, so that we give a more realistic or a truer version of a more meaningful version of the town's finances. So are those reflected in the current, those are reflected in the current?
Yeah, and that's right. Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah.
So the new numbers, the numbers that are in your package now will have a lot more credibility, I guess you might say, or a lot more, they're more up to date than, and more accurate than they would have been, because before there were a number of invoices to come in and a number of revenues to be received and that sort of thing. So this gives a truer picture of our finances now.
And just one thing, I was somewhat mistaken. The audit is scheduled for June 17th and 18th, so I just wanted to correct that for the record. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any comments or questions on the Finance and Technology report? Okay. If not, thank you for your report, Councillor.
You're welcome.
Well, now, and a special note that Councillor McDonald is carrying two portfolios. He's carrying Finance and Technology and also Planning, Development, and Heritage. So maybe I'll ask him to give his report, and I think you have a couple of resolutions as well.
I do, yeah. Those two portfolios, I'm everyone's most popular and favorite councillor, and it's certainly a title I don't take lightly. Yeah. So we have our building permit summary for the month, somewhat slower month this year, although not totally off the pace from April of last year, though to date it has been a slower development schedule for 2026. Although certainly from what I understand from planning staff, that could change in short order with some of the dockets that we are looking at over the summer months for planning. So things continue to go well with the town. Certainly it's no small amount of money that is pouring in through development, and certainly we require that development in order to fulfill our objectives and our commitments to our residents. So I certainly want to thank our planning staff for continuing to process applications in an orderly fashion and to ensure that they're keeping up with the pace of development. We do have two resolutions, as you noted, Your Worship. I will begin with Resolution PH005 2026 SD004-25 from CMLMT Holdings, requesting a conditional use for two 10-unit stacked townhouse dwelling buildings on a north lot, which is created by subdivision SD004-25, encompassing PIDs 190173 and 529545. It is moved by myself as Chair of Planning, Development, and Heritage. And the resolution reads as follows. Whereas an application was received from CMLMT Holdings Limited on February the 10th, 2025 for proposed subdivision to change the boundaries of PIDs 190173 and 529545 for the creation of two lots and an extension of Swallow Drive. Whereas the original purpose of SD004-25 was for the future construction of one 8-unit stacked townhouse dwelling on the south lot and two 10-unit stacked townhouse dwellings on the north lot. Whereas on September the 5th, 2025, the Planning Committee made a recommendation to Council to approve the proposed subdivision and the development on the south lot, while deferring a recommendation on the proposed development pending more information for the north lot. Whereas on September the 10th, 2025, Council granted preliminary approval to the Swallow Drive Extension subdivision application SD004-25 to change boundaries of PIDs 190173 and 529545, and defer making a decision on the development of the south lot due to it being a late submission item to Council. Whereas on September the 17th at a special Council meeting, Council denied the original application from CMLMT Holdings under Resolution PH048-25 for an 8-unit stacked townhouse dwelling complex on the south lot. Then whereas on September the 24th, 2025 at a Committee of the Whole meeting, this proposed development was revisited by the committee, who determined that they needed more information to see the entire proposed development for both the north and south lots. Whereas the developer was informed that they needed to submit a revised site plan for both lots, show a reduction in the number of units on the north lot to reorientate the buildings on the north lot, and to provide information for the required landscape buffer for the parking area on the north lot. Whereas on September the 26th, 2025, CMLMT Holdings Limited submitted a revised site plan showing the above requested changes from the Committee of the Whole. Whereas on October the 7th, 2025, CMLMT Holdings submitted an appeal to the Island Regulatory and Appeals Commission of the September 17th decision of Council to deny the original application for an 8-unit stacked townhouse dwelling complex. And whereas on October the 8th, Council passed Resolution PH 054-2025 that granted approval of 1 8-unit stacked townhouse dwelling on the south lot and 2 5-unit townhouse dwellings on the north lot. Whereas in March 2026, CMLMT submitted a revised proposal for the north lot, seeking to change the approved use of this lot from 2 5-unit townhouse dwelling buildings to 2 10-unit stacked townhouse dwelling buildings, which are conditional uses. Whereas under Section 7.3.3 of the zoning bylaw, when an application has been received that seeks approval of a matter that has been denied, it will not be reconsidered unless it is demonstrated that it is different from the previous application and altered to meet the requirements of the bylaw. Whereas the new application has demonstrated that it is different from the previous original application and altered to meet the requirements of the bylaw as follows: that the new application shows the orientation of the buildings and parking lot in the north lot reversed or mirror image from the original application, that the new application parking lot design meets the bylaw requirements of 30 parking spaces, showing 32, whereas the original parking lot design only showed 26 parking spaces, below the required 30. The new application shows the location of the garbage cans in between the proposed 2 dwellings, making it more compact, easier to enclose, and more discreet, whereas the original application showed the garbage cans in 2 separate locations in front of each building and not visually pleasing. And the new application shows a landscape and vegetation buffer screening along the full length of the common property line, whereas the original application did not show any landscape or buffering of any sort along the full length of the common property line. Whereas at the March 30th, 2026 Planning Committee meeting, planning staff and planning committee members also discussed the origin of the north and south lots, which are one lot originally back in the community of Bunbury days and zoned R2 since at least 1984. Residential development patterns in those days were mostly bungalow or rancher, duplex, and semi-detached dwelling types. Since then, and with the amalgamation to create the town of Stratford, housing types have been evolving into more multi-unit and stacked dwelling types to meet the market demands and affordability. Considering the unique rectangular shape of the recently created north and south lots, combined area totaling approximately 1.28 acres, both lots are not being capable of being subdivided, therefore making them more suitable for accommodating multi-unit dwellings to complement the shape of both lots. And whereas pursuant to Section 11.3.3 of the Town of Stratford Zoning and Development Bylaw number 45, prior to the issuance of a development permit for a conditional use, Council shall ensure that property owners that directly abut the subject property are notified in writing and asked to provide their comments. Whereas in March 2026, information letters were sent out to the 10 abutting property owners, seeking comments on the proposed change of the conditional use proposed from the north lots from 2 5-unit dwellings to 2 10-unit dwellings. And whereas 2 emails were received from residents who received direct notification expressing comments on the proposal, and 4 emails from residents outside of the required conditional use notification radius were also received. Whereas the subject land has been located within the medium-density residential zone from when before the town was established in 1995, and the shape of the subject land in question, having narrow frontage and an elongated shape, make it not conducive for being just a single dwelling unit, the committee made a recommendation to council to approve this new application. Therefore, be it resolved, the council grant approval of the application submitted from CMLMT Holdings Limited in March 2026, seeking to change the future conditional uses for the lots to be created by subdivision SD 004-25, granting a preliminary approval by council resolution PH 054-2025, subject to the following conditions. 1, that condition number 3 on council resolution PH 054-2025 be replaced with the following, quote, that 2 10-unit stacked townhouse dwelling buildings are permitted to be constructed on the newly created parcel located north of the Swallow extension, as shown on the survey plans for subdivision SD 004-25. 2, that a boundary fence shall be installed along the property line abutting the parking area to further screen and enhance the safety of this property at the same time of the planting of the required landscape buffer around the parking area for the north lot. 3, that all other relevant provisions of the Town of Stratford Zoning and Development Bylaw number 45 are met. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Planning and Heritage Committee as discussed in the meeting held on March 30th, 2026.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Second, thank you. Okay, discussion.
So I'll leave. Yeah. Oh, well, certainly he can. But we'll certainly hear from Mr. Ruff, but just by way of an introduction, certainly you can read from the preamble to the resolution that this one certainly does have a long history. It is not the first time that we have seen this particular development in one shape or form or another. And I think what I'd like to hear from Mr. Ruff, just if he can expound a little bit upon the differences between this current resolution and the one that had been before us before, and also how or in which ways does this proposed development meet with our official plan, as well as in addition to consideration of what may be the most applicable planning principles. So Mr. Ruff, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. So we do have, as part of your package, the planner's report that did go to the plan committee last month. And then it was, we were originally going to take it to last month's council. We decided to delay it just to clarify a couple of issues and then meet with additional residents and just clear up some issues going on. So in terms of, can you go to 7A-2? Who's controlling it? Okay, so this is the site plan. So this is the current proposal. So essentially everything on the, we're only dealing with the north lot at this point. The south lot was under a different approval. So this is the current proposal for two 10-unit stacked townhouses. The original one got approval is 2 5s. The building footprints are remaining the same. The townhouses, if they were traditional townhouses, there'd be 2 stories. These two 10 units are actually 2 stories. Just an extra, I believe it's 10 units extra, and then it was a difference of 5 bedrooms, I think. You're going, the townhouses themselves were originally going to be 3 bedrooms, and now the stacks are 2 bedrooms. So I think in between it's an extra 5 bedrooms, I think, per unit. Yeah, if my math is correct. So the original design, well, the preliminary design actually had these buildings with a park like close to Captain James. This is Captain James, this is Mason over here. So the original design had the townhouse units close to Captain James and then parking down this hatched area, which is actually a sewer easement. And then originally it was going to access onto the extension of Swallow through a third party's land. So that wouldn't work because you can't go through the third party. So the developers shifted the buildings, they flipped them. So now they're close to the ball field and close to Mason Roadside with a parking lot on the left-hand side. So there'll be access off of the extension Swallow, which has been built this year. The province is essentially requiring the road be punched through. So they've started, I think they've pretty much started construction on that. I know service lines went in at the moment. So the original ones we're looking at the 2 5s, now it's come back as 2 10s. So in terms of the planning itself, the uses, like the building footprints are going to remain the same. Parking increases a little bit higher. There were a couple of design changes. So originally this garbage area, which is in between the 2 sets of units, was up here. So it was moved away from especially the one residence in Captain James. So it's more into the center of the property. The parking lot itself, since it's over 18 units, any parking lots over 18 spaces requires a landscape buffer. So down the left-hand side of the property, there is going to be a landscape buffer. It's typically minimum 1 meter in height, so 3.3 feet. There is especially up close to this stretch, there is fairly tall trees at the moment. The developer is going to try and work with the town to maintain as many of the trees as they can, the existing ones, as opposed to, in the past, often developers would come in, clear all the trees, and then plant new ones, which takes some time to grow. So on the south lot, they didn't have a choice. There's no trees there. On this north lot, Fiona took out some of the trees, but not a whole lot, so we can save some, which is good. And then so there will be a buffer over here. This is the sewer easement, so there's no building on top of that.
And while we have you up there, Mr. Ruff, I'm wondering if you could open up attachment 7A-2, which is the site plans and elevation, and particularly go towards, I believe it's the bottom of that attachment, demonstrating the elevations of the buildings. So from what I understand, Mr. Ruff, the proposed two 10-unit buildings are I guess, the teal colored
Yes, yeah.
buildings?
Two light blue ones. So
Yes.
this is the 8 unit, which is pretty much either at completion or near completion. And then these are the two proposed 10 units. So the 5 units that were approved earlier would actually be the same height. So there's no height difference between the 2 5s that were approved or the 2 10s that are proposed. So.
Okay. And so in terms of, when we're considering certain planning principles, in terms of the massing of these buildings, I wonder if you can make a comment as to the massing of these buildings as it relates to planning principles in terms of that zoning in that area.
So in terms of the height of the buildings are going to be, in theory, the same as what could be dealt with. So this view here, Goldsmith Row, is still under construction. So the proposed units are under the maximum size. In theory, I could buy a lot on Goldsmith Row and put a 3-story building. The maximum building height is 35 feet. These guys are under that. I think they're at like 30 feet, 26 feet? 26 feet, thanks. I knew it was close. So they're under the maximum building height. There are, along Swallow, there are some units which are just single stories. There are some which are 2 stories. So it's not out of size with what is in the area. On the other length of Swallow going towards Mason, you have single stories, and then you have a couple of 2 stories to be there. So in terms of the height-wise, they're about the same as what is in the area or potentially could go in the area, especially down Goldsmith Row. A lot of the ones down Goldsmith would most likely end up at the 2 stories based on the type of buildings going in. So in terms of massing-wise, down Goldsmith, they're looking at between anywhere from singles to semis to townhouses to stacked semis to be there. So a couple of larger buildings down Goldsmith, and then down Swallow, and in the area you have different types of houses, so single semis, and then there's a couple of townhouses further over. So.
Okay. And have any traffic concerns been cited from any traffic engineers or transportation staff, anybody in that regard?
So in terms of traffic-wise, this did get circulated over to transportation. They did not indicate that a traffic study would be required. In terms of how traffic will flow in this area, it will change because once the connection Swallow goes through, now there's going to be multiple exits out of this neighborhood. So Swallow would be built up. Goldsmith was completed last year. There is an extension at the end of Goldsmith and Nightingale out in Mason Road. So traffic flow patterns are going to differ through here, but they didn't trigger the requirement for a traffic study.
Okay. And just, in terms of what you just had noted, in this general area, we have detached residences, some semi-detached, some townhomes. So in terms of, what the official plan tells us about in terms of encouraging a diverse mix of housing stock, and densification and things along those lines. How would this proposed development fit into those objectives or goals of our official plan?
So our official plan does call for different housing types through here, and more of a move away from the lower densities to more intensive development types and more efficient use of land. So it does encourages multiple use types of dwellings, and like historically we've been single-family dwellings, single detached dwellings within town. As we're starting to run out of developable lands without going into the agricultural zones, it's encouraging to go up. It's actually cheaper to build going up than it is to go horizontal. And then you also get more efficient use of services through there too. So.
Okay. And just one more question for me, and then I'll certainly turn it over to my fellow councillors. They may have questions for you as well. So ultimately, you know, in yourself, in your professional capacity as a planner, what would be your view of the proposed development?
So in terms of the proposal itself, the proposal does meet the zone bylaw regulations. So it is a bigger, like in theory it is bigger than what's in the area, but it's also a bigger lot too. The lot itself it's one of the pretty much the last remaining big lot in the area. Like the lot coverage and building sizes are not out of conjunction or out of touch with what could be dealt through here. Lot coverages are like way under the maximum. So maximum is 30% lot coverage. This building's at about 13.5%. So there's still a lot of open space. Some of the houses along Swallow, you're pushing the 30% maximum. So still a lot of open area around.
All right. Okay, I think those are all of my questions. Thank you very much. Although, as I noted, some of my fellow councillors may have some questions for you.
Okay, thank you. Discussion?
Yeah. Just want to lead off here. Just looking at the developer, Sean and Adam did a great development up in Woodhouse. And that area is a multi-use area. I want to compliment them on them. I want to compliment them on the meeting with the neighbors and so on, and meeting with Jeff and so on, how professional it was. But anyways, from day one, I was against the plan, which is in front of us right now with the subdivision, with the townhouse itself. First, there were proposed 8 townhouses for 16 units, and then we're back to 4, and we got 8, and then now we got 2 5-towns. Now, in the existing zone there, that goes back to before amalgamation, so on, the old Bunbury, and it butts on my Ward 3 and then Ward 1. So, in that area, it's meant for semi-detached and dwelling house only. So this is where I'm at. The planner, great planners and so on, but they're in the wrong area. They were with the R3 now. It will be an R3. We can go up step that further, but with the 2 5s, they got more than they ever had before because they would have had a 3. With this R2 right now, you're only allowed 3 townhouses. So right now they have 10 townhouses. So I voted against it last time, and this area, and I want to keep it R2. So at the end of the day, I have a responsibility, and I have a responsibility to the residents in this area, and what you buy into. And I know what I buy into, and I know everybody in the room what they bought into. Behind them, beside them, in front of them, and so on. You know what you buy into. And right now, the council has a responsibility to uphold the intent of the existing zoning bylaw and current official plan. Residents purchased homes, invested in neighborhood based on expectations created by current zoning framework. Approving development that exceeds established density or changes to the character of the area undermines public confidence in the planning process. This proposal appears inconsistent with the existing zone regulations and does not reflect the scale and character of the residents that we're expecting in this neighborhood. Growth is important, but it must be balanced with infrastructure, capacity, traffic, neighborhood character, and the reasonable expectation reasonable expectations of existing residents. Residents are not opposed to development. They're asking for development that respects the zoning, the infrastructure, and the established character of the neighborhood. At the end of the day, the surrounding area is planned, approved, and developed under low-density R2 residential framework. Resident purchased homes and invested in this community with a reasonable expectation that the municipality's zoning regulations and the official plan policy would prove stability and predictability over time. Residents are concerned that this application resembles spot zoning, concentrating this all area, an isolated exemption that benefits a single project while disregarding the established character and planning exceptions of surrounding R2 neighborhood. So when those principles there, I'm moving down to core planning principles, compatibility with existing neighborhood. This is not compatibility with existing neighborhood. Orderly and substantial growth, it's not there. Appropriate density, it's not there. Public interest and community well-being, planning decisions are supposed to benefit the broader community and not a single landowner or developer. Consistency with the official plan, this is not consistent with the official plan. Predictability and fairness, residents and property owners rely on zoning rules and planning policies to understand what can reasonably occur in their neighborhood. Protection and neighborhood character. Established residential areas are often recognized physical and social characteristics worth preserving. And the final one, good urban design. Development should contribute positively to the aesthetics, walkability, privacy, sunlight, traffic flow, and safety. And also the parking itself, it's the whole area is congested. The area itself, I know residents talked about not having their neighborhood connected, but we want all neighborhood connected. So with all these principles and everything else, tonight I'm going to be voting against it because at the end of the day, the plant contractor has more than what he would have if in R2 right now. And then what I'm saying tonight is the 2 5s going into 10s, 20 stacked townhouses, it's the whole area is, I mean, there's no sidewalks planned, it's going to be congested, the overflow of traffic, the people in the area, there's people that wrote letters, there's people that I did some door knocks last night, they just don't want to see this in the area, they have a duplex behind them, and there's one area, there's one gentleman there, he's in his bathroom, and his bathroom window has the sacked townhouse over there. But I'm saying the developers are good developers, but I'm saying that it's not the area. So my job is to look after both the town itself and protect the residents, and everybody knew what you bought into. At the end of the day, you bought into this. There are two, there are ones. So if you wanted to go further, multi-use over the gray property, that's where you can put these stacked townhouses, and we approved that earlier. So so that's where I'm at right now tonight, voting against this on a number of reasons.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any other comments or questions?
I guess, yeah, if we have questions for Mr. Bruckman, unless he just wants to stand there.
I don't mind standing.
Do you want
Great.
comments from us all?
If you feel you'd like to speak to it, go ahead.
I never turn down the opportunity for a comment. Actually, this particular decision has weighed on me quite a bit, as have many lately, as we seem to be facing some pretty significant decisions in shaping the future of our town. So I guess I'll begin by saying that I very much appreciated the presentation from the developers, and I thought it was thoughtful, and it addressed several concerns that I had personally, just in regards to housing inventory, housing affordability, et cetera. So I did think that they had done a lot of work in their presentation. During the presentation, it was noted, and it was a positive that the developers had kind of gone to this effort in regards to controlling or managing parking and number of vehicles and units and that sort of stuff, which I thought was forward-thinking. That being said, I'm comparing it to another complaint that I'm monitoring from a resident in a completely different area when it comes to traffic management. And I recognized during that time that we don't have a lot of things in place in the town that actually effectively manages parking and enforcement of parking, so that we have not a lot of teeth in legislation that actually allows us to remove cars that park on the street. So we can make a lot of effort when it comes to saying we don't, like, it'll be fine, cars won't be there. But ultimately, in our current state, if cars are there, then they're there. And that affects, in my opinion, safety and quality of life and all that sort of stuff. So I thought the presentation was good. I like the idea that there was the commitment to affordability in 1 unit per stacked townhouse. But again, that opens the door to a whole other conversation that I won't go on and on about. But affordable housing, by definition, means that basically the determination is that you're using our median income in PEI to formulate a rent that is affordable for that demographic, which is great. The real crux of the problem, in my opinion, is that the majority of inventory on our island is not affordable. The majority doesn't address the fact that the rents are 3 times higher than what our median incomes can afford. And I don't know that this does anything to fix that. So that's my positive for developers. I think you've done a great job, and I think you've built responsibly in other areas. I took the time to drive around this area over the weekend, and first, I can tell you that the road is being built. If we lived there, we would be very much aware that the road is in construction now. And as I drove through the area, I could see cars parked in different roads within that entire development. I could see that there were a significant variation in the housing types that are in that small area. So we do have houses that I'm going to guess are several thousand square feet. We have houses that are split levels. We have side by side, like all kinds of stuff. But to the folks that have lived in this neighborhood, the original Swallow, that's not in line with anything that they had before. Like, this is an entirely different landscape for them that they have adapted to. And we can say, well, I had development near me and it worked out great, and that's great. But if we look from the passage of, like, some of these residents have lived there for decades, and I told you guys last night, when I was little, we went to Mason Road to trick or treat because at that time that was the most dense area that you could get the most treats, house by house by house. And they only had houses on one side of the street. But that was the old Southport, Bunbury area. So seeing the development now, and many people in our town may not even be aware of the density that exists in that area because it's very easy to not be aware if you're not driving through Kelly Heights and all the rest of it. May not be a consideration. When it comes to the argument of footprint, and I may have been one to say footprint, and it's the same footprint, but I'm going to present you with a visual that I think will be impactful. If I go to Sobeys and I forget my reusable bags, and I take brown bags, my brown bags take up the same room in my cart, whether I have 4 cans stacked in them, or 8 cans stacked in them, or 12 cans stacked in them, or 16 cans stacked in them. But if I pick those bags up or try and move them, or try and function with them, what spills out of them is going to be incredibly different. I would ask you to consider that a stacked townhouse is very similar to that brown bag, in that when we put more things in it, more things come out of it. And if you're trying to pick those things up or manage those things, it's not ideal. So the stacked townhouse in the right place, I support the type of development. I think that it calls for wider streets. I think that it calls for larger setbacks, and that we still can allow for some room of, like, a sense of space, spatialness, if that even makes sense. So even though I was on the fence for this, and I do support the idea of a stacked townhouse, when I went in that area and I only sat in my car but I try to imagine the flow of people over and under, and in that whatever, against that. And there's just no way, in my mind, that it's not going to impact the current existence of the folks there. And it's not my ward, but like Steve, I am committed to representing, and I said I'd be a voice for residents, and that doesn't matter if they're in Ward 1, 2, or 3. I thought Steve's words were really organized, more so than mine. But I want you to know these decisions, like, they're significant. I can see the merits of both sides, but ultimately, once it's there, it's there. There's no going back. So the decisions have to be really thoughtful and careful. And I can already, in my mind, see that some of our planning principles, or that where we're moving to, have not been applied in this area on a whole, as there's a lot of varied inventory. And finally, this process has been, through no one's fault in particular, long, confusing, and I would hope for the residents that we can put this to rest and that we don't have to keep coming back to the table with variations, because I couldn't help but think that it negatively impacts their quality of life on their streets in the surrounding areas. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Okay, I guess we can go around the table. You want to speak next, Councillor Dowling?
First off, I'll say I recognize that the proponents are very good developers. They develop quality builds, and I recognize that they worked diligently with town staff in order to, in efforts to mitigate concerns of area residents, of council, and of staff. But ultimately, you know, this project, and I've sat here and mentioned it many times consistently over the last several years, this is one of those projects that simply does not fit within the general character of the neighborhood. The area residents have been consistent in their opposition to this project and other dense projects that go outside the general character of the neighborhood. And it's true, Kelly Heights has developed as a mixed use, and in some aspects of it, it works out very well. For the most part, I've been opposed to densified projects that weren't consistent with existing area residents. And you know, this certainly is one of those that just does not fit. It'd be a great project for some other area, but I don't believe it's a great project for this particular area, and for those reasons, I'll not be in support of the resolution, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Cox, do you want to speak?
Well, ask Jeff, do you want to go first? Do you want me to go?
I'm sorry.
Okay. This has been something that's been long, laborious issue in that, and I think we took a lot of time, and the residents of this area truly deserve that, and as does the builder. And it's not something that we just kind of, you know, threw some thoughts together and just that's it. But originally, I was one of the people that denied. I voted against this, and but I have put my time into and listened to a lot on both sides. And once again today, I drove down and looked at the whole area and looked at what's being built today, and I even took about 20 minutes to talk to one of the builders. And I'm sure he was happy. He was eating his lunch in his truck, but he talked to me, and I got to know a few things also about that. And I have told my story before about living in Stratford since '94, and when I moved here, there was no golf course. And behind us was horses in a meadow, and I was on a dead-end road. And today, our roads join to Aintree. There's also a cul-de-sac off the back. There's the garden home development behind me now, where the farm and horses used to be. Where the fields were behind Moore's Pond has been a golf course for 20 years. And at the four-way stop sign there's a block of townhouses, probably the first multiple townhouse build in Stratford. So things totally changed, and when I first moved here, and we really, one of the reasons we moved there was because it was country, or seemed to be country to us. That being said, I have learned to understand the development, and I learned, to look at the positives of what was being developed, as far as the golf course, and also to have housing for seniors, which is necessary in Stratford. And doesn't mean I agree with all of it, but I certainly, it was a learning curve for me. And when I looked at this subdivision today, like I said, I was opposed to this build, and it's not 100% either way for me, and there's still some unresolved things, but I'm also a believer that we need to move the needle forward here in Stratford, and we need to get different kinds of housing. I sold my house in September and lived there, like I said, since '94 in one house, and now we're in a townhouse ourselves. My wife and I are in a townhouse, and we're thoroughly enjoying living in a townhouse. So I am in favor of pushing the needle forward, so I will be voting yes for this proposal.
Thank you. Councillor McDonald, you looked at.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. So with respect to this, as noted by my fellow councillors, this has been before this council in one form or another for some time. And I do certainly agree with Councillor Chandler that can cause some consternation for the residents, and that's recognized. And I think that's important to recognize, certainly. And I think that's not necessarily through anybody's fault, but be that as it may, that is the situation. And so ultimately, this matter does require resolution for everybody, I would suggest. So certainly I've listened to my fellow councillors, and really I think what comes out to me most strongly is that certainly when we're talking about these planning principles and these objectives of our official plan, there can be no doubt that this always will require a balancing exercise. There are certainly instances where factors will militate for a development or strongly against it, as the case may be. I would certainly suggest that, based upon the comments of my fellow councillors, this certainly falls within that middle area where the balancing act is much more delicate between the objectives of our official plan, maintaining the existing character of the neighborhoods, respecting the voice of the residents, while encouraging development and diversity of housing stock in our municipality. And certainly everybody involved in this matter has put a lot of effort into it, and I would suggest the comments of the residents. And I'm being very careful here, from a procedural perspective, to only note the comments of the residents who were properly notified, because those are the ones ultimately that we have to respect in terms of our official plan as well as our bylaws in general. Certainly they've been very thoughtful in their advocacy for their neighborhood. I would also suggest that thoughtfulness has been at least matched by the developer, who has been, I would suggest, a good business partner for this town in developing other properties within the town, and being, I think, good stewards of their properties. And what I would suggest is that certainly was impressed upon me was their ability to respond to residents' concerns, their ability to respond to the town's concerns in changing aspects of the development to respect as much of the buffering as they possibly can, while keeping the massing down, while keeping the footprint down, and while delivering a much-needed resource for this community. So that's certainly recognized as well. And of course, I would have very much recognized the efforts of our planning staff, who really have put a lot of work into this matter since mid-2025, in bringing everything before council in a way that's cogent and digestible for us to make some of these difficult decisions. I've had the opportunity to speak directly to the developers. I've had the opportunity to speak directly to the residents as well. And ultimately what we are left with is that very delicate balancing exercise. And for myself, certainly as chair of planning, I would suggest that for me, the balance militates towards approval of this development. It satisfies most of the objectives of our official plan. There are no concerns with traffic. The massing is appropriate for the area. It satisfies the objectives of a diverse housing mix. There is nothing to suggest that this would not be anything less than a success in that area. That's balanced by the views of the residents, which I certainly note and appreciate. In fact, in particular, one resident did note, in a meeting, not on the record, that if there were 10 above and 8 below, that's 18 units, and is that not enough between the border of an R2 and an R1 zone? And I certainly respected that perspective, and I appreciated that perspective. And there is certainly some merit to that perspective. There can be no doubt. There can be many, I guess, valid pathways forward. But for me, ultimately, I do believe that this militates in favor of approval. So I would be voting in favor of the resolution, Your Worship. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. I just have a couple of words. I'd just like to also compliment the planning staff, the developer, the residents for being engaged in this discussion. I think we've had a lot of good information come forward. There's been a very thoughtful and respectful discussion around this, and I really compliment everyone on that. It's good to have the information out front, and everyone is privy to that information. I agree with each of the councillors' perspectives on this, in the sense that we really want the best for the town. We want homes for people. We want to make the homes that are in demand, that people need, that people want, that people can afford, and as much as possible, we try to look at approval. I've always said we try to get to yes is sort of a mantra, and but another mantra of mine has been like housing next to like housing, and I think that's an important principle. That's what I'm advocating for in the new official plan. That if people look out their window, they should see housing that is analogous to their own. However, when there's adequate buffer in between, if it either through a berm, a vegetation buffer, trees, distance, whatever the case, then that should suffice. But there shouldn't be a huge jump from single family to very intensive development immediately. Like on the other side of the street, perhaps that can be a transition zone. So I think that's I would call it gentle density or whatever you want to call it. But it's important that we try to make as many homes for people, but at the same time respect residents and their quality of life. So with that, unless there's further comments or discussion or questions,
I just want to add one thing I forgot to say, but from day one, I've all been about buffer zones and about proper spacing, and I'm also like you said, like-minded houses. We move inward. We try to look at your window and see a place like your place, like that. And also, like I just don't take this lightly. This is something that's very, very important to residents. It's very important to our builders. And in the past, my neighbors and myself have taken a builder to Iraq, and we lost. I mean, I've been very passionate about my neighborhood also. So this is something that I totally have been going back and forth on, but in my heart of hearts, I want to protect the residents of this area, but I also want to protect our future residents who will be coming to Stratford, who need different types of housing, and that's the reason that I'm voting the way I am today. So, and not trying to say I didn't listen to the comments from residents. I really appreciate all the residents, what they said, and but part of our job at council is we have to take everything into consideration, and we have to come to a decision, and we have to state what our decision is. So.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Just when I think about this, I think there is opportunity for clarity in regards to character of the neighborhood or the existing neighborhood, because I think we use the term, sometimes it may apply to height, sometimes it may apply to square footage, sometimes it may apply to number of dwellings, et cetera. But in the density question, like in that in particular, like I think it's a significant variation from character in the older or existing neighborhood, and I think it is important. So I know you would spend time, Phil, in the original, like the height and that sort of thing. It's not so much that for me as it is that it's twice as dense as it was planned for, so that's all.
Okay, thank you. If there are no other comments or questions, I will call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion defeated, 3-2. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on. You have another resolution, Councillor?
Yes, Your Worship, I do. This is Resolution PH 017-2026, DP 017-26, from MRA Architecture and Design, proposing McDonald's restaurant at 9 Kinloch Road on PID 859637, which is a Part 3 commercial development. It's moved by myself as Chair of Planning, Development, and Heritage. Resolution reads as follows. Whereas an application has been received from MRA Architecture and Design to construct a McDonald's restaurant being a Part 3 commercial development at 9 Kinloch Road, located at PID 859637, totaling approximately 13.9 acres in total area in a zoned town center commercial. And whereas in accordance with subsection 1.5.1 of the zoning development bylaw number 45, Part 3 commercial buildings require preliminary approval from council as the development falls outside of the authority of a development officer. Whereas proposed development has demonstrated general conformance with the bylaw, be it resolved that preliminary approval be granted to DP 017-26, subject to the following conditions. 1. General conformance with the preliminary design package prepared by MRA Architecture and Design, dossier MCD 2602-1361, dated February 2026. 2. That the internal road network of the parking lot shall streamline vehicle circulation and safety to be approved by the town of Stratford in collaboration with the Department of Transportation. 3. That the internal road network of the parking lot shall improve pedestrian connections and safety to be approved by the town of Stratford. 4. A detailed stormwater management plan shall be prepared by a qualified engineer and approved by both the town of Stratford and DTI. 5. A detailed erosion and sedimentation control plan shall be prepared by a qualified engineer showing how erosion and sedimentation will be controlled and contained during construction and be approved by the town of Stratford. 6. A detailed landscaping plan shall be prepared by a professional landscape architect outlining the details and quantities of the materials to be used and be approved by the town of Stratford. 7. A detailed servicing plan shall be prepared by a qualified engineer and be approved by the Stratford Utility Corporation. All servicing shall be in accordance with the Stratford Utility Corporation's servicing regulations, including payment of all applicable fees. 8. All other relevant provisions of the Town of Stratford Zoning and Development Bylaw number 45 and Town Center Core Area Design Standards are met. This resolution bears a recommendation of the Planning and Heritage Committee as discussed at the Planning and Heritage Committee meeting held on May 4th, 2026.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Chandler. Okay, discussion. Any comments or questions?
So Ms. Kennedy is here. This has been her application that she's been working on. I'll just note at the outset, and I'll ask Ms. Kennedy to highlight on this, that most of the discussion at Planning Committee centered on traffic within the parking lot itself, as well as potential routing, as well as pedestrian access. So, Ms. Kennedy, I'll just ask you to start there, and I think I can't remember the attachment name. I believe it's 7B-3, the proposed parking lot reconfiguration. And I'm wondering if you could speak to the new features that will be, I guess, included in the parking lot now in terms of new sidewalks and control berms and things of that nature.
Sure. So the town planning staff had met with the Department of Transportation on this specific development. And we work with their recommendations to kind of reconfigure this parking lot. One of their major concerns had been kind of the increased left-hand turns, going kind of more towards where the proposed development is taking place. And because of that, we are working with the landowner to finalize the reconfiguration of the parking lot. However, one of the solutions had been to introduce curbing kind of where that green section is outlined in red, where the red arrow is on the screen. And so that would kind of limit that immediate left-hand turn and redirect to a newer curbed intersection here. And then it would give kind of a defined path as well to the McDonald's, or the new commercial business through this kind of curbed area here. The other item that the town was particularly concerned with was pedestrian, safe pedestrian access. So our bylaws already include a provision for all main buildings on a lot in the town center core area to be connected with a crosswalk or sidewalk. And so in that kind of pink and blue area is where the new crosswalk and sidewalk combination is proposed. We really saw it kind of as a opportunity to increase safety for kids in this parking lot, because I suspect that there'd be many trips from the dollar store to the McDonald's from the kids going from Glen Stewart Elementary and Stratford Elementary. And so we just wanted to make sure that that area was safe for pedestrian travel.
Thank you. I have no other questions for you, although some of my fellow councilors might.
I have one concern, obviously, but when the high school is going to be built and then the junior high is going to be built, you're going to have a lot of students coming to this McDonald's. I'd have to think it's closer than the other McDonald's, plus it's a little bigger and whatever. That's just a worry I have. I know years ago there was a worry about, kids at Glen Stewart School, and they end up building a tunnel under the, road area there, or the sidewalk area. But to me, just make sure that we have, and I have no doubt that the town will do this, but it just worries me because, potentially it could be, a couple hundred kids coming towards McDonald's at lunchtime, and walking, and that's a very, very busy road, as we know. And so just safety in that respect, for me, is my concern.
Any other comments or questions?
So, just for understanding, and I love any tools used to better manage the flow of traffic in a parking lot. I prefer this parking lot right now to other parking lots in our town, but there's still areas of confusion I experience as a user. In this graph, like if someone comes in off the Trans-Canada, are they turning left right out, like in the second part there where your pointer is?
Yeah, they would turn right here where my pointer is.
That's where they enter into McDonald's. So there's quite a bit of space from their merge from the Trans-Can into that parking lot.
Yes.
One thing I see just as a driver now is that there could be people who are going to Sobeys or whatever might be in that plaza, and then there are people who are planning to turn further, and people move fast behind. So I've seen instances where someone's coming off the Trans-Canada and they're going to go to Shoppers, and even though it's a right, them braking at that point, like when there's other cars coming quick behind them, is dangerous. So I support whatever we can do to make it as safe as we possibly can. And the other thing that I see, which to Councillor Cox's point, is when we get that influx of students in cars and on foot, based on their ages, then some will be crossing the Trans-Can as well and moving through the parking lot. Like, we'll have potentially a lot of foot traffic on the east side of the parking lot as well, if that makes sense. And I don't necessarily see any accommodations for that, but maybe that's a down the road sort of thing.
Yeah, right now there is no requirement to specifically ask for a path kind of along this way. If there were pedestrians traveling on this side, they would unfortunately have to kind of go in front of all of these businesses and go up.
Right, but if kids are coming from the future high schools, they're going to be crossing the Trans-Can?
So how far away is the community camp, is the community campus to the McDonald's? Because I'm just wondering, that's a big trip for a half-hour lunch or an hour lunch.
It's not, my kids.
No?
They run like from,
Okay.
I used the example before, from Birchwood, which is like core downtown, to McDonald's on University Avenue. They do that in a half an hour. So this is shorter. When that road gets punched through, I feel that it will be shorter. So I think it's very realistic to think that we'll have students running across the Trans-Canada. And I also think it's, that they could have pizza in their hands, like they do on University Avenue. Like it is, like it's significant, the impact they have. So at some point, I'd love to see accommodations made for that level of traffic on this side as well.
Yeah, like if I can just add, like at Colonel Gray High School, the kids leaving Colonel Gray going to McDonald's, they can't pass physics or math, some of them, but they can figure out the best route. So they found by going down Newland Crescent, if they cut to this one-man's yard, it basically took off about 5 minutes. And he's put fences up, multiple fences, everything, and there's still kids every day going through his yard and jumping the fence that he's made. Like for here, when kids do come, to the lights, and Councillor Chandler is absolutely right, they will zip towards me. They're not coming all the way down Kinloch, going straight up in front of Sobeys, then turning right to go to McDonald's. They're cutting across the highway, right up the back there where the hill is, to McDonald's that way. And that can be dangerous. So it's just stuff we have to sort of work with. I fully agree that with the development there, like I'm getting a thumbs up, but I'm just, as far as the safety part, I think we have to work on that part because we have to be more proactive in this area because it is fast cars. And cars sometimes are thinking more about roundabouts and stuff than kids racing across the road at lunchtime because it's kind of a newer thing, so.
It is definitely something that the town should look at in terms of having a long-term plan for crossing the highway.
Yeah.
The Department of Transportation's opinion is very much, this is an arterial highway. We are to get cars as fast as possible to move along this route. So I think it definitely should be a bigger conversation that the town
Yes,
should
exactly.
work with the provincial government to solve.
Yeah, thank you. I agree.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions?
Yeah, just very quickly, Your Worship, I think this is a good development, befitting in the area, appropriate for the zone, and for that reason, I'll be in favor of it. And I think, as Ms. Kennedy stated, there is some future planning to be done depending on how the pedestrian traffic flows from the high school. And certainly measures could be carried down the road, but that is not, of course, a mitigating factor or a relevant factor right now insofar as the school's a ways off yet. And this development, of course, is a ways off as well, but I think it's a sound project for an appropriate area. And we can look after safety concerns as they unfold.
Okay, any other comments or questions?
No, I like the project, and I always said it'd be nice to have an overpass on the Trans-Canada Highway towards Tim Hortons, you see in other communities, like an overpass for students to go over, come in safely that way, so that's something we may look at it, but it's cost, the government, I guess that's through the government, I guess. But anyways, no, I like it. I know they're looking at one in Charlottetown, out at Towers parking lot right now, same thing, same diagram, so they're moving along, the McKenna's, so it's good to see them investing in Stratford.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, I'll call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion carried. Okay.
That would be the agenda for planning.
Thank you very much. Thanks for all your work on that. Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll now
Thank you.
turn to the Deputy Mayor, who heads the Infrastructure Committee, chairs the Infrastructure Committee. I'll ask him for his report.
Yeah, it was in your package tonight there, the infrastructure minutes were on April 16th. Just any questions and concerns regarding the report. We talked about, I guess, the Shepherd Drive parking lot began today, so it's being construction down there now. And we've got 3 resolutions there tonight in our package, so I'll start off the first resolution, Your Worship.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, led by myself, the Town of Stratford Resolution Number INC 003-2026 Harborview Sewer Redirection. Whereas the 2026 utility capital budget includes $300,000 excluding HST for the construction of the Harborview Sewer Redirection Project. Whereas tenders were received on April 28th, 2026 with two compliant bids submitted as follows. Island Coastal Services Limit, $153,570, and Burt McKay Construction, $155,290.65. And whereas Island Coastal Services have submitted the lowest bid, has completed satisfactory work for the town that passed and is recommended by the consultant for this acceptance. Whereas the engineering fees estimated to be $37,000 excluding HST for a total estimated cost of $190,570 including HST. Being resolved that Harborview Sewer Redirection Project will be awarded to Island Coastal Service Limit in the amount of $153,570, HST excluded. This resolution bears a recommendation of the Infrastructure Committee as determined via email poll conducted May 1st and May 4th, 2026.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Cox. Okay.
Wait for
Sorry, yeah.
Oh.
councillors.
Beg your pardon?
So that's what I was going to state, was that Mayor Ogden, you are now quorum because we've had 2 members leave the room. If they come back in, they won't be eligible to vote on this because they weren't here for the resolution reading and discussion. So these are the 4 that are.
So I get a vote on this?
These are the 4 that are voting on this.
Okay,
But, yeah.
Yep.
okay.
Seconder?
Do I have a second?
Councillor
I got a
Cox seconded.
seconder. Councillor Cox seconded the motion. Discussion, any discussion on this motion?
Maybe you or maybe Director Woodard, if you could just tell me a little bit about what the background is on this, what's it meant to achieve? And, yeah.
Clean up this area, redirection,
So the project is to basically decommission an older station, one of the originals there on Harborview Drive. It's a very small station. It only services, I think, 6 properties. When we developed Shepherd Drive back in 2011, 2012, there was a new sewer lift station installed at that point to size for capacity of that area. And until the shorefront property was built and filled in, that station wasn't even operating. But now that it is, we are able to decommission the smaller station and redirect that flow over to this one larger station. So we're removing some redundancy and some operation and maintenance responsibilities by getting rid of the one smaller and much older station.
Okay. Thank you. Yep.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other comments or questions? And I guess it was clarified while you 2 were out of the room that only those people who are eligible to vote when the motion was moved. So this is one of the few that I get a vote on. So I guess I'll call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Motion carried. Okay.
Another resolution, Your Worship.
Yeah.
Number INC 004-2026 Ducks Landing multi-use path, led by myself, Deputy Mayor Steve Gland, whereas the town active transportation plan has identified Ducks Landing as a high priority area for active transportation installations and improvements. And whereas funding has been received for the project from the PEI Active Transportation Fund for 50% of the eligible project costs, and whereas a tender call was prepared and tenders were received on April 23rd, 2026 with 4 compliant bids submitted as follows. The first, the RFP, Landmark Construction, $701,663. Chapman Brothers Construction Limit, $876.55. Island Coastal Services, $941,571.43. Burt McKay Backhoe Service Limited, $943,189.80. And whereas Landmark Construction have submitted the lowest bid, has completed satisfactory work for the town in the past and has been recommended by the consultant for acceptance. Whereas the engineer fees are estimated to be $93,000 excluding HST for a total estimated project cost of $794,663 excluding HST, which is within the capital budget approved for the project. Being it resolved that the Ducks Landing multi-use path project be awarded to Landmark Construction in the amount of $701,663 HST excluded. This resolution bears a recommendation of Infrastructure Committee as determined via email poll conducted between May 6th and May 7th, 2026.
Okay, seconder. Thank you. Councillor Dowling, seconded. Okay, any discussion? Any comments or questions?
No, it's just great support from the government and 50-50.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see the path needed up in that area, so it's great to see that coming forward.
Great. Okay, I'll call for the question then. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion carried. And you have one more resolution, Deputy Mayor?
Yeah. Third, Stratford Town of Stratford Resolution Number INC 005-2026, additional hydrant supply installation in the core area. I'll move by myself. Whereas 4 tenders were received on April 15, 2026 for the supply and installation of 10 hydrants along Kinloch Road and the Trans-Canada Highway with results as follow. Burt McKay Construction, $230,905. Birch Hill Construction Limited, $315,600. Island Coastal Services Limited, $342,534. Landmark Construction, $345,000. And whereas funds for this project has been approved in the capital budget in the amount of $300,000. Whereas a change of scope to add 2 additional hydrants along Mason Roads were negotiated with the low bidder Burt McKay Construction to allow for 12 hydrants to be installed in total. Whereas Burt McKay Construction has agreed to supply and install 12 hydrants for a cost of $284,905 excluding HST. Being resolved that the additional hydrant supply installation and core tender increased scope be awarded to Burt McKay Construction in the amount of $284,905 HST excluded. This resolution bears a recommendation of Infrastructure Committee via an email poll conducted on May 4th, 2026.
Okay, seconder? Oh, seconder, Councillor McDonald. Okay, discussion. Any comments or questions on this?
No.
If not, I'll call for the question. All those in favor?
Well, actually, I just had one question.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. We had received some, I guess, inquiries about planning fire coverage, especially with hydrants from residents in the past. So from what I recall, the conversation had been at the time was that this resolution had been contemplated and we were forecasting that this is where that hydrant work would begin. And I'm just wondering if we could say, like, where does it go from here, if that makes sense?
If I can just clarify, are you referencing in terms of moving into subdivision areas?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so this is the last year for the core area that we've identified as what is missing. So yes, starting next year, we are hoping to, with the assistance of the fire department and their new master plan that they're currently working on and expecting a draft very soon, to help us identify and prioritize how we move into the subdivision, the more residential areas, and start infilling.
Okay, thank you very much.
So we should see that in next year's plan.
All right, wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other comments or questions? If not, call for the question. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Okay, thanks very much, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll move to Committee of the Whole, and there's no business arising from Committee of the Whole. Okay. Sustainability, Councillor Chandler chairs that committee. I'll ask her to give her report.
Sure, just a quick overview. We met last week. The 2026 Water School program wrapped up on April 28th, and as we know, this is an annual initiative and collaboration from Stratford, Cornwall, and Charlottetown, and we get to see the results in the future with the art submissions. I love this initiative, and I love that we get to showcase the learning and build those relationships and education with kids. So well done to the staff for another successful water school program. We discussed the community campus net zero on-the-job training student project, which was interesting to learn about. So the town hosted an OJT student from Holland College Energy Systems Engineering Technology Program, and that student worked closely with infrastructure and sustainability staff on researching large-scale renewable energy opportunities in Stratford. Staff's going to continue to work on the goal of the net zero community campus objectives. But yeah, I love when we have the student placements here, and I think it's beneficial for both the student and our town to get those expertise. Business community update. As we know, we hosted the business community for a networking event in January, had another follow-up meeting with them in February, and there's been some delays in the original plan for bringing the group together, but we do hope to host another event late May, early June, and it would be a lunch and learn with the RCMP as members of the business community expressed interest in having that opportunity for education, as well as kind of what's happening in the town and some learning tailored to the needs of the business community. So that concludes my sustainability report at this time.
Thank you. Any comments or questions on Councillor Chandler's report? If not, Councillor Chandler's, another councillor is carrying two portfolios, so, oh, sorry,
Yeah,
is there
sorry.
something else you wanted to say?
Just, not much, just that that was the sustainability.
Oh, I'm
report.
sorry,
We
the
also
transit
have the
report,
transit,
yeah, sorry.
graph and information from T3 Transit. As we can see, there is a climb, which is positive, but this year's numbers, month over month, have been lower than the two previous years. And I still think there's opportunity for clarity in regards to the graph, the ridership information, but we will look at that another time. And of course, we have the excitement, the minibuses that have launched and have been seen in and around Stratford and the city and Cornwall too. I don't know if they've made it. They're not in Cornwall. Okay, it's just in this area. So yeah, you'll see them, and they're small and efficient and electric, and they would be an ideal vehicle for future intertown travel or potentially on-demand transit or specific routes to bring people to a business park or whatever. They're used in cities all over the world, and they are successful. So it's exciting that we've got them here.
Great, thank you. Okay, any comments or questions on the transit report?
One question, or comment, I guess, / question. I know we've discussed ways to promote the intra-town transit pilot that we have going, and just wondering how we're doing with that, whether there's, last I checked, the ridership or the uptake wasn't great. Wondering if that's improving at all, or whether there's different ways that we can continue to promote that within the town. It's something that I think would be a benefit, particularly for the immediate and, of course, short-term future of our town, to have people have capability to move within the town without having to go to other communities and back again to get from point A to point B. But the viability of that long-term will depend on having a consistent ridership, and if we don't have that, I fear that it'll be difficult for future councils to maintain that intra component, at least in the short term.
We had, as part of our one of our second last transit meeting with the T3 operators, discussion about how we can improve the intra-Stratford routes. We believe that there has to be a Town of Stratford and T3 larger discussion as to what the best plan is, and part of it is the new minibus that Councillor Chandler just mentioned. As part of the appeal, it's unique, it's cute, it's cool, whatever the words may be, but it might be one of the ways we can help facilitate the intra-Stratford routes. The ridership is slowly increasing, and the bus drivers have reported that there are new riders using that route instead of the same old individuals using it day after day. So that is one positive, but there has to be a new look at it as to how we're going to create a marketing campaign, and we have initiated those discussions with T3.
Making mention one time about possibly encouraging more and more student use of transit in general, but perhaps more specific, the intra component. Just wondering if you could speak to that, or is there any planning done around that, or?
We initiated a discussion most recently. The Mayor Ogden and I participated in a meeting with the provincial government representatives, the two MLAs for our region, and we discussed that we'd love to see that take place for a year and a half from now when the new high school takes place, that there would be more transit, public transit access for residents to get to and from the new Stratford High School. But we'd also like to see something take place sooner rather than that, so that Stratford residents in the meantime can get to Charlottetown Rural and other schools in a more efficient manner than the current school bus system. But we believe that's a larger discussion between the province, the T3 operators, and even rural transit operators, because we do know that even in rural, there's people that are traveling on the buses all the way into Charlottetown, but they are passing, going right by public schools at the same time in rural areas as well. So that's a discussion between CATCC, T3, and the province.
Can I ask a question to you?
Sure.
One thing I will say is there have been, not necessarily increased, but social media posts from the Town of Stratford in regards to bus costs, et cetera. There has been more engagement lately. I feel like the one in regards to the fare, the $2, that had a lot of folks chatting about it, and will continue, I'm sure, to push the minibuses. One question I do have for you, the cash, right now, kids K to 12 can ride the buses for free.
Correct.
Are they counted as riders?
Yes, they are.
Are they counted as paid riders?
All riders are counted as riders, whether they're paid or not paid. There is a breakdown between $2 riders, monthly pass riders, and annual riders that T3 captures.
Yeah, in the graph that I looked at today, like in today's information, it doesn't really make a big breakdown for paid riders, which makes me question, because I do feel there's more students on there. But I suspect the student rides are subsidized, so they would be paid for them.
By the provincial government.
But the student itself is not, like that person not paying fare.
The only students that are currently paying are Holland College and UPI students.
Yep. It is, yeah. Anyway, that's a discussion for another time. And I think just to be mindful of current affairs in our province, although the student ridership and all of that is a fantastic opportunity, certainly in the legislature. And in recent times, it's also been pointed out that interprovincial $2 ride the bus from one tip of the island to the other has potential dangers for kids as well, which we'll have to investigate at another time.
Okay, any other comments or questions on the transit report? Okay, if not, thank you very much for your report, Councillor, and I'll ask you to also report on your other portfolio, intergovernmental affairs and accountability.
Yes, I'll try and do a quick overview of this. We met last week as well. We had verbal updates in regards to transit agreement, official plan, some of the infrastructure funding, chatted about our resident survey, and key performance indicators as well. We still have really positive returns on the survey in paper form and online. We discussed the possibility of moving sometime to an online-only format, although no decisions were made on that. In regards to the new business in the meeting, Mayor Ogden and Wendy provided updates on some of their recent meetings. Business community outreach, there was another update in that, which we discussed in the last, in the sustainability report. And we also looked at the engagement statistics from our social media and just overall outreach, which continue to be really high. And I think, like, I only have a few years being involved in this council, but I think our engagement continues to trend upward, and that we have a lot of active residents, and that our staff is doing well at continuing to speak with them and keep them informed of whatever's on the go.
Great. No, it's an ongoing challenge, but it is, I think, really moving the markers in terms of engagement. I think that there's people obviously don't get engaged unless there's something that affects them usually, but some people are more engaged than others, and it's good to keep providing that information and keep seeking their input on issues that concern them.
Yes. And we encouraged, and when at the time, when the information is available, certainly members of the committees, and I would say the same to fellow council members, when we have that next iteration of the draft official plan, to share it outside. I'd like to share it with residents, to share it in your own channels, so that we can continue to reach further than the regular people that we chat with. So I think that's positive. And one last little thing, we also talk about ways to engage and attract new, like potentially new council members, folks that will run or consider running in the next election, and how we do that. Because as a group, it's fair to say that there is an awareness and an interest in, having a more diverse, or a diverse council, and attracting newer folks to take on this opportunity.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, thanks for your report, Councillor. We'll now move to item 17, inquiries by members of council. Is there anything about the town that anyone would like to follow up on, or question or comment on?
I got one small thing, and I've brought this up before, but I still think we should have on our page, our town website, just a little icon on the side that says seniors. So they can click on there, and anything that relates to seniors in Stratford, be it bus services, be it new programs and recreation, everything is just there for seniors, because for some people who don't know a lot about computers, it can be a bit of a daunting task, kind of have to go over and figure stuff. The website is well done, and Wendy did a fantastic job heading this up and everything. I just think when it comes to some things the seniors should be aware of, it's just to have it at one click and everything is basically there for our seniors to look at. It saves a lot of time, energy, and a lot of anxiety over websites. And I think that's a vulnerable group that really could use that, just that one click. Because right now we have town home, gym schedule, agendas and meetings, and tenders. But I think the seniors deserve their own tab there.
That's a really good idea, in my view. I don't recall hearing it before, but I know that in Summerside they've just done a exercise where one of the councillors convened meetings with seniors and looked at what they would like to see, the town both do, and information that could be provided. So this might be an opportunity to engage seniors in defining what things they need to know about and what things they're interested in, and that sort of thing. So that, yeah, thanks for that suggestion. That's a good idea. Any other inquiries or questions?
I have one, Your Worship. I perhaps should have brought this up at recreation. It just didn't occur to me at the time, and I'm just reflecting on Councillor Glant's earlier comments in relation to the state of the tiles in the outdoor rink by Starling Park. And, when, or before it degraded to the point it has now, it's been very well utilized by people playing rollerblade hockey. And sometimes there are just 2 or 3 people out, shooting at the net, and other time there's full-blown games going on. And it seems to me that the rink itself, over time it's going to need a bit more work. I don't know what long-term plans are for it, but it seems to be very underutilized in the sense that it could be available for use by rollerbladers and maybe other opportunities in there as well, I don't know, but right now we essentially use it for ice hockey, and it seems year to year our window of opportunity is getting more and more narrow. For that purpose, it's more and more difficult to put and keep ice in, and I'm just wondering what, if anything, there is by way of short to mid to long-term plans for that particular facility. It's great that they have the outdoor or the indoor area where you can go for a washroom and a change and that sort of thing, but just wondering if there's some way we could put some sort of surface on there that would be very durable and you could put ice over and could be used more through the year for whatever purpose.
Maybe I'll refer that to Councillor Cox and maybe ask him if he would add it to a meeting of the Recreation Committee to discuss, and maybe with the Recreation Department could provide some information and some analysis and some recommendations with regard to Councillor Dowling's suggestion. Okay, thank you. Thanks for that. Yep. Anyway, we'll ask the experts to maybe come in with some ideas and analysis and recommendations. Okay, any other inquiries by any member of council? If not, we'll move to other committees. Stratford Seniors Complex, Deputy Mayor Gallant, who chairs that committee, to give his report.
We had a meeting in April, April 4th. The meeting on April 14th, and the meeting package is in your booklet here. We'll look down, I'll go back to the report itself. Staff are working from May 1st. The staff are working on getting quotes for a planned capital project for 2026. 2025 working paper files is in with the auditors. Send an email to MRSB to ask when draft statements will be available. Spring clean is underway. Seniors are excited to see Heidi and her team back for the season. Chris will be reviewing the site and with the new grass contractors. Security cameras are up and running inside and outside the building for public safety purposes. Spring maintenance is underway by Chris and his team. Staff and the management committee are reviewing the management committee policy for potential updates. There are currently 38 people on the wait list. Five on the list are waiting for a 2-bedroom unit, and 2 on the list are moved to the bottom. 2 on the list asked to be moved to the bottom. 1 person is not a senior yet. So that's respectfully my report. That's from Kim there. So thanks very much, Kim.
Okay. Thank you for your report, Deputy Mayor. Any questions or comments? I just have one comment. I'd like to wish a happy milestone birthday to a esteemed member of that committee, Viola Murley. Yeah, she's. I understand there's a little celebration planned at some point. I saw it in the paper, but yeah. So anyway, happy birthday to Viola. Yep. Any other comments or questions on the seniors report? Okay. Thank you for your report, Deputy Mayor. No appointments to committees? I guess we've only got a few months left, so there will be no appointments to committees. Proclamations. I have one proclamation, and it's melanoma. And I'll just read that proclamation.
Just before you get into that, I just want to give information, Your Worship, that the Melanoma Canada mobile is free mobile skin cancer screening clinic traveling across Canada from May 1st to October 31st, featuring volunteer dermatologists to provide screening, particularly in underserved and rural areas. This initiative aims to detect melanomas early with over 130 stops planned across all provinces. So the Melanoma Mobile, the federal government's putting it out and have trained dermatologists in these vans, and it's called the Mobile. So it's nice to see that getting out there and with people with skin cancer and so on, get in front of it.
So they're coming here?
Yeah, it's coming across to Canada, Atlantic provinces, right all through Canada.
But they haven't announced when it's coming here.
They said they're looking September, October.
Okay.
I saw the article on Compass one night.
Okay,
And they're
yeah,
talking about that, so.
That's great to know.
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay, I'll just proclaim the proclamation. Melanoma and Skin Cancer Awareness Month, May 1st to 31st, 2026. Whereas it is imperative that communities across Canada be reminded of the importance of sun safety. And whereas overexposure to UV radiation is one of the major causes of melanoma and non-melanoma skin cancers. And whereas skin cancer is the most common of all cancers, 1 in 6 Canadians born in the 1990s will get skin cancer in their lifetime. And whereas many people seek sun without taking the advisable precautionary measures and are unaware of any darkening of skin color, including a tan, is indicative of UV damage. And whereas skin self-examination should be performed on a monthly basis because skin cancers are highly treatable when detected early. And whereas Save Your Skin Foundation is dedicated to the fight against non-melanoma skin cancers, melanoma, and ocular melanoma through nationwide education, advocacy, and awareness initiatives. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Steve Ogden, Mayor of Stratford, do hereby proclaim the month of May as Melanoma and Skin Cancer Awareness Month in the town of Stratford. In witness thereof, I have set my hand and caused the seal of the town of Stratford to be affixed hereto this 13th day of May, 2026. Thank you. Okay. Any other business anyone would like to bring to the table at this point? If not, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. So moved. We're now adjourned. Thank you.